Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at Board Game Geek's top 1,000 two-player board games and make a tier list. So, let's get right into the video. We have Twilight Imperium as the number 1 board game on Board Game Geek for a while actually, until it was replaced by Pandemic Legacy, and then thereafter replaced by, I believe, Gloomhaven. Alright, so why did everyone love this Cold War two-player game? The reason for it, I think a lot of our parents' generation, if you're 29-ish, 30 like me, your parents who played board games, if they did, were really big into history maybe, and they play in board games. They're thinking about their own recent history of the Cold War that they went through. This was actually pretty interesting. It seems like ancient history to us who weren't born in that era, but it was a really serious thing. It's got an interesting card play mechanism where you have cards of different varying values, and then you play a card out. Oh, values and countries, Russia, America, or neutral. You play those values out for if it's your own card, you play it for yourself for your value, or you do the event. You'll only get one of those choices. But if you play your opponent's card, you get the value to use for actions in the game, and your opponent gets to use the special ability on the card. And then if it's a neutral, I believe it's as if it is your own, and you get to pick the special ability or the action points. So that's a pretty cool action mechanic system in itself. And I think it really shines. What's cool is you can play alternate history with this game, so Russia can actually win the Cold War. Pretty interesting, but it is not on Board Game Arena right now. On my channel, I do a lot of strategy guides or just playthroughs of Board Game Arena games. So while I'm going through these, I'll talk about them and see, hey, is it on Board Game Arena or not? Okay, next up, we have Seven Wonders Duel. And that one, I actually make quite a bit of tier lists and strategy guides on my channel for Seven Wonders Duel. You all know I love it. It is an S tier. And yeah, Twilight Struggle was in C tier for those who didn't see it. If you're watching this in a car ride, I should remember to say the tier list that they end up falling in. We've got here S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier. Probably wouldn't want to play that. And then we've got 2 other categories I've added right here, and that's for if I have not played the game, then that's 2 question marks is I'm interested in it, and then 1 question mark is I've heard bad things about it, or I just myself personally don't like it, whether it's mechanisms I don't like or something else. Like maybe I don't like memory in board games. So if a game relies highly on memorizing things, then I'm not going to like that. Okay. Anyways, back to the tier list. So it's important to say that because I don't know really anything about Android Netrunner. I know it is a 2-player card game where you play cards against each other, and that is actually 66th place on Board Game Geek, and it's not on Board Game Arena. I'm going to put that in the question mark I'd like to try category, just barely, as I am afraid that it is one of those games that you really need to know all of the cards to be really good at. Sometimes those really shine, sometimes those fall flat for myself personally, but enough with that. Let's get to games that I do know. Patchwork, I know Patchwork very well. Routinely beat my wife at Patchwork. Don't pause the video there. No sound bites of that. Patchwork is actually one that my wife and I can play. It's pretty simple. She likes short games. And so, I mean, she's willing to play Seven Wonders Duel because she's amazing and awesome. But if she had her way, she would like to play Patchwork. And sometimes she's actually requested this 2-player game. It's really nice. It shines. It's got a cool timing mechanism where you can actually take a turn twice if you didn't spend too much time on your turn. A lot of interesting mechanics. It's a polyomino game, so you're placing out pieces on the board, and filling them up. I'm going to put that in A tier. Next up, we have Watergate. Watergate, I have not played. I heard it's going to be very similar to Twilight Struggle as far as that action system. Does it have that? I don't even know. I'd imagine it does because people compare the two a lot. But I'm going to put that in the double question mark. I want to try it. Targi. Ooh, I have not tried this. It is on Board Game Arena. I should really get around to playing this 2-player game because I'm sure I'm sure it's got some cool things to it. I know it. There you're moving some people around on a map, and then where they intersect, you get something out of it. I don't know. Target players are probably like, "What? Nope, that's not how you describe the game at all." All right, Target. Next up on the list, and by the way, these are actually organized in the order that they appear on Board Game Geek actually. So Star Realms just barely got beat out by all of these, but Star Realms is a fantastic game. I really enjoy it. Love the app of it. It's a 2-player deck builder. It's actually one of the only deck builders that I really like. Most deck builders are just fine for me, but yeah, this one I really enjoy. So yeah, with that, I'm going to put that in A tier, just like where I put Patchwork. I really enjoy it a lot. I think if I had somebody who really understood the game well, I might even put it higher than Patchwork because that's really enjoyable when you get to play a game with Star Realms with somebody who really knows the strategies. And there's really basically, you probably can't see from the picture, but there's 4 different factions, and one of them focuses on just obliterating your opponent, the green. One of them focuses on drawing cards and discarding your opponent's cards. And then one of them focuses on scrapping your own cards to make room for better cards. You start out with some pretty terrible cards, and then getting rid of those cards so that every time you draw a new hand of cards, it's pretty useful. And then a final faction focuses on being able to buy more cards. All of them have the ability to buy more cards, but it just buys them better. As well as that faction also is the only faction that can heal you. So you win the game when you reduce your opponent's health to 0, or below 0, or below 1, right? So yeah, that is a really cool, awesome game, and I love the different factions of it, and you can combine different factions together. It's just feels so smooth when you're playing it, especially on the app because you don't have to shuffle. That might be why I don't like these deck builders, because you have to shuffle the cards. Okay, next up we have X-Wing Miniatures board game. I'm going to put that in D tier. Unfortunately, my one play of it, I didn't really enjoy it that much. Like, it was okay. I can understand why people enjoy it. It was not my cup of tea, though. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Jaipur. Now, Jaipur is a 2-player trading game. You think, how can a trading game be a part of, be a 2-player game, right? Because you have Settlers of Catan, that's a trading game, and player 1 trades with player 3 so that they both are better than player 2. So Jaipur, you actually kind of trade with the bank in the middle of the table, and you can pull off some pretty cool moves in it. I really like it. And the only reason why I'm not putting it higher than B tier is because there's just so many other great games out there, but I'm going to put it in B tier there. Beating out Twilight Imperium for now. Okay, now, next up, I mean, I've only played half a play of Twilight Imperium, or Twilight Struggle, not Twilight Imperium. Gosh, that's definitely not a 2-player only board game. Twilight Struggle is one that I would like to play more of. It was the #1 board game for a while, so there's got to be more to it. My half play that I played of it, where I got walloped by a guy who knew the game very well. Yeah, maybe it doesn't deserve to be in C tier. It might deserve to be higher, but I'll caveat each of these if I haven't really played a good game of it, so that when you go out and buy a 2-player game that you are thinking of getting, you don't pass up some of these great games if if they seem like they might be your cup of tea. Like if you want to look up like history of Cold War, that might actually be ranked higher. X-Wing miniatures. I've only played it one time, and if I played it more, maybe I would enjoy it more. But that's another caveat. I only played it once. Giant Purse Star Realms Patchwork 7 Wonders Duel. I've played 100 times at least of each of those. All right, next up we have Magic the Gathering, another game that I've played over 100 times, and I just can emphatically declare that I do not enjoy two-player card games, but this one was really fun when I did play it. So I'm going to put Magic the Gathering in C tier. And Magic the Gathering is amazing for the board game hobby. I think it helps out a lot of board game stores to stay open. All right, next up we have the Unification of Japan, Sekigahara. All right, I have never played this. Probably wouldn't enjoy it. I think it's like a war game. I don't know. But let's keep going. Next up, Command and Colors Ancients. Haven't played it. I'd try it. I haven't heard anything like terribly bad about it. I mean, you don't really hear that much about any of these games on Board Game Geek that are any bad things, at least if they're in the top 1,000 to top 100. And we're still in the. Nope, we've actually gone out of the top 100, fellas. Actually, Command and Colors was 173. Next up, Combat Commander Europe 181. I think I've heard of this game being extremely heavy. Heavy meaning like a lot of rules to remember. I'm going to put that in just the one question mark category. Probably wouldn't enjoy it. Undaunted Normandy. Maybe a little more than the Europe. I might want to try it a little more, but not really feeling like I want to learn a war game. Next up, Star Realms Colony Wars. I'm going to put that in A tier with Star Realms. It made the top 1,000, a different version of the game. Well, same version, just an expansion or another box of the game with different cards. You can mix them all in. Standalone game, that's the word I'm looking for. All right, next up we have Paths of Glory, another war game. With these two-player games, there's going to be a lot of war games, I'd imagine. Now we have Go, the ancient game of Go. It's an abstract game. I'm going to be going in for a master's degree in artificial intelligence, and I know that a lot of people who, when they're looking at connecting artificial intelligence with board games, they'll bring up Go and talk about how no artificial intelligence has really broken the game of Go, but they've come close. Whereas people will say that chess has been broken. Just there's too many different, or maybe just checkers has been broken, but chess and Go were very, very hard to solve, and the computing power you'd need to be able to make an AI that could beat the pro players every single time would be very difficult. And Go never actually had a pro player get beat by an AI until recently. What is Go? It's just placing white pieces and black pieces on the board, and your white player or black colored player, and then the black pieces, and then the white pieces, and you're just moving them around. And it's been a while since I played this. I think it's you surround the pieces. So if the white pieces surround the black pieces, they turn those black pieces white, and vice versa. But yeah, I think there's some special rules with that. I think the second player gets 7-point bonus because they recognize that there's a first player advantage with it. I think that was pretty cool, actually, that they did that. But yeah, I'm going to put this in D tier because I'm so sorry to the Go players out there. I really don't like the abstract strategy games very much. And when I played this one, I was like, all right, this is not my favorite abstract strategy game. But I feel like if somebody hadn't played very many abstract strategy games, they would really enjoy this. Okay, so Codenames. Codenames Duet, actually. This is a 2-player version of it. It is cooperative. I'm going to put that in B tier. I really enjoy it. I think it is the best version of Codenames. Next up, we have Yinch at 207. Yinch is the best abstract strategy game. Abstract strategy is like chess, your checkers. You have known information on the board, no randomly drawing cards. You can plan out an artificial intelligence to know the rules of the game, and since there's no randomness in it, they can try to figure out an engine to beat other AIs. So abstract strategy games lend themselves to books being written about them about the best moves to be done, because there's a unique lack of randomness to them. So this abstract strategy game, Yinch, is actually one of my favorite abstract strategy games out there, if not my favorite. Going to put it in a A tier. I'll put it at the top of B tier. I really enjoy it a lot. Um, okay. And put Jaipur at the bottom. A little update there. B tier. Figured out. We'll figure out the rest later. Hanami Koji. So Hanami Koji is a game where you are trying to fight for the hearts of these geisha. You have, like, I think 5 geisha in the middle of the table, and they're either neutral to you, they like you, or they don't like you. And as the game goes on, you try to make the geisha like you through I cut you choose mechanisms, lots of different choices and options. I want these choices and options that Hanami Koji has to be in more games. I love that you get to choose that and be like, all right, do you want to give the parasol gift? Do you want to give this other gift? You choose which one, and you allow the other player to make the decision sometimes, but you make the decision hard for them. So really enjoyed this one. I'm thinking put it in C tier though, because I mean I didn't love it as much as Jaipur, but it's around that kind of feel, that struggle with things in the middle of the board, trying to pull them. It's a tug of war, tug of war, tug these geisha to your side. Next up, we have 1960, The Making of a President at 232. That's going to be similar to the Watergate and Twilight Struggle type of games. I feel this is going through an election. I've never played it before, so I'm going to put it in the double question mark because I would like to try it. Just like Watergate, both those games I think would be really cool. Next up, we have. Oh shoot! I just realized that I have cut off the S tier for you guys, so I'm going to make it a little easier to see the S tier. There you go. All right. So now there's a Seven Wonders duel. Next up, we have Clask. So Clask, that one you're using magnets to push a ball into the goal, but you gotta watch out because you might get hit by the balls or something. I don't know. It's a pretty big game. I'm thinking I wouldn't want to own this game for sure, but I do want to try it, so put it in double question marks. Next up, we have Battle Line at 255. You're going to mobilize a stronger formation than your opponent. I really enjoyed my one session of playing it like 100 times. I don't know. I played it a bunch with one person in Germany, and we really got to analyze this one a lot, and I enjoyed it so much. But because it's so short, and you're fighting over these cards in the middle of the table, or fighting over these wedges in the middle of the table, I think you can make. You're trying to make runs of 3 cards, or same of 3 cards, or things like that, to try to capture sections in the middle of the table. And I think if you capture 3 sections, it's an automatic win. But if you make it to the end of the 3 adjacent sections, then you win the game. But if you make it to the end of the game, then you just count whoever has the most sections completed, and then that's a win. I think that's how it goes, but it's been years since I played this one. But I enjoyed it so much, I'll put it in B tier. Next up, Hive. This is another abstract strategy game. Whew. War games and abstract strategy games are going to abound in this top 1,000 list. So I'm going to put that in D tier. I didn't really enjoy Hive that much. And there's even a random element to the game where you draw from a bag, I think. So it's an abstract strategy game, except for that random element. But it's still considered abstract, I believe. Okay, Onitama, another abstract strategy game that looks nice, though. It's not just white and black pieces fighting against each other like chess or Go. It's you have these just molds playing on like I think like mouse pad texture of a board, so beautiful. And you have these cards. There's 5 cards in the game, and your opponent owns 2, you own 2, and then there's one in the middle. And then these cards tell you how you can move. When you move, using one of the cards, you put the card you used in the middle of the table and swap it with the one that was in the middle of the table. Now there's a new one in the middle of the table for your opponent to take on their turn. So Onitama, pretty great game. I'll put it in B tier just because I like the random setup. Not a lot of abstract games have a random setup each time, so you can write books and books and books about the same setup. And the only variation for these abstract strategy games would be how your opponent moves. But this also is a random setup of how the board starts out, particularly the 4 or 5 cards that are placed in the middle of the table. So with that, we will go on to Battle Lore 2nd Edition. I have never played it. I'm not really trying to play it, but we'll put it in question mark. Next up, we have Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage at 288. We're going to put that in question mark, single question mark. I'm not sure I super want to play it. Mage Wars Arena. I played the big Mage Wars box. I think this is the small box, though. I could be wrong. And my one play of it wasn't really fair to it. I would have rated the regular Mage Wars a D tier, but we'll say it's just a regular, just question mark. However, I did like the armor in it. I liked that when you'd roll the dice to fight, one side of the dice, I think, got past armor. Like you could break through armor, and you wouldn't get subtracted because the armor subtracts the damage. So that was a cool thing that I want to see in more games. But gotta say something nice about a game that you didn't enjoy, right? Next up, we have Agricola, All Creatures Great and Small at 318. This one is not playable on Board Game Arena, but the original Agricola is playable. I actually own this version of Agricola, the 2-player version. Played it with my wife. We liked it. I think it's all right. I put it in B tier. I might actually like it better than Agricola, but it depends on the day. All right. Next up, Star Wars Armada. I've never played it, but if it's anything like the X-Wing miniatures, I probably wouldn't want to play it. But those, yeah, I'll put it in single question mark. But I might put it in double question mark if, given a day, I want to try like to play with a bunch of big ships and take a picture afterwards, because the ships are definitely bigger than in X-Wing. All right, next up we have Lost Cities, and this is the card game version. I really love the board game version of it. Board game version of Lost Cities, I'm probably one of the only people who you'll talk with who knows both versions, who likes the board game better. But the card game is all right. I'll put it in C tier. And that is playable on board. The card game is playable on Board Game Arena. Next up, we have Radlands. I've never played it. Don't really even want to play it. Haven't really heard anything great about it personally, but I know there's a lot of advertising out there for it. So we'll just say that. Next up, Claustrophobia. Claustrophobia, that is a... I don't even know very much about this game. I'm going to put in a single question mark, though. Just not super wanting to try it. It's just there. Next up, we have Advanced Squad Leader. That is never played. Don't really want to play a war game. Next up, Space Hulk. Not really trying to play that game. Don't really know much about it, to be honest. Shot and Totten is a remaking of Battle Line. So I'd imagine I'd put it in B tier, but I've never played it. So I'll put it in the double question marks. Next up, A Few Acres of Snow at 398 place on Board Game Geek. This one I think is a war game, but it's a deck builder. I think it's mainly a deck builder, but based on war. We're going to put that in a single question mark. I'm not really wanting to play it. Also, I heard there's a broken strategy to it. Whatever, it's an old game. You're going to find a broken strategy, and then it's going to be lost in the dust. Blood Bowl, Living Rulebook. Never heard of it. Put it in the single question mark. Lord of the Rings, The Confrontation. I actually owned this game for the longest time, and then I was like, well, I guess never played this, so I finally sold it, and I actually sold it for quite a bit. I guess it was out of print. I played one game of it, maybe half a game of it. It was like Stratego, if you played Stratego. So I thought it was all right. We'll put it in C tier, or we'll put it in single question mark. I'm not really wanting to try it again. Yeah, I'll put in a single question mark. Commands and colors, just because I really didn't finish the game even halfway through. Commands and colors, Napoleonic, that's a single question mark for me. Battle lore, single question mark for me, not really rearing to play it. Blood Bowl 3rd edition, single question mark for me, sounds like a ton of rules. Raptor, that is a two-player game where you're raptor versus scientists. I've played it and it's all right. Like I'd put it in C tier, like maybe B tier. I just wouldn't want to own it, but yeah, I'll put it in B tier. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a Bruno Cathala game. Next up, we have Chess, the OG abstract strategy game, unless you count Go. I'm gonna put that in D tier. I like it about as much as Go. Um, I think they're just all right abstract strategy games. Like none of these games that I'm ranking here are gonna be F tier because they're just like they're in the top of Board Game Geek. So they've been vetted, played by a lot of people. Anyways, Mandala 433 is board game rank, and I've never played it. I'm gonna put it in question mark because I'm not really rearing to play it. The Fox in the Forest, I haven't played it. I want to try it though. I played the Fox in the Forest duet, and I'd put that as like a C tier. But next up we have Tsar at 484th place. You're going to be doing similar things as Yinch, but I've never played this, but I do want to play it. It's made by the same makers of Yinch. Next up, we have Unmatched Robin Hood vs. Bigfoot. There's going to be a lot of these Unmatched here. I want to play all of them, but I just haven't gotten around to this. All right. Next up, at 524th place, we have Devon. Oh, no, wait, hold on. We had Star Wars X-Wing 2nd Edition. We'll put that in a single question mark if it's anything like the 1st edition. Devon, 524th place. We're going to put Devon at same reason why I put Tsar in the double question mark, because I want to play it. Next up, we have Hammer of the Scots. Yeah, I don't know what this what is. William Wallace clashes with England to determine the fate of the 13th century Scotland. I'll put it in single question mark. Sorry, that description didn't really make me want to try it. Star Wars X-Wing miniature game, the Force Awakens core set. Ew. We'll put that in a single question mark. I didn't like Force Awakens, and I didn't like Star Wars, the miniature game. Or the X-Wing miniature game, rather. There is a normal miniature game out there that's pretty good. Okay, so Blood Bowl 2016 edition. We'll put that in a single question mark. All right, I'm realizing this is getting really big, so we're going to increase the size of my window here. All right, next up we have Star Wars Destiny 2016 edition. I don't really think that I'm going to be wanting to play Star Wars Destiny. I think it's a head-to-head rolling dice, collecting cards game, right? I wouldn't want to play something like that. Next up, Air, Land, and Sea. Haven't played it. I'll put it in the double question mark because I think I would enjoy that one. Keyforge, Call of the Archons. I have played that one. I'll put that in D tier. Unfortunately, I didn't really enjoy it that much. It's got a cool idea of randomly generating a bunch of packs of cards. You don't randomly generate the cards, that would be really difficult to do, but you randomly generate these packs of cards, and maybe your consistency of your deck has 5 goblins and 5 aliens and 5, dwarves, whatever. And then somebody else's consistency is same consistency maybe, but different types of dwarves or different types of goblins, or maybe you just have a little more aliens. I don't know. So it's all completely random. In addition, they randomized the names of the decks that you were buying, so you could end up with just randomly generated from, I think, like a big data database where maybe you'd have one called two board player games or something like, or no, maybe I'm thinking random words you'd have on there, like you'd have Europe Wars deck or Duke Days Gaming. Like you'd have like random words on there, and I think they worked it out. So it's like adjective, noun, like power hitting word or something like that. So but I'm saying all this just I'm doing a bad job of describing how they randomized the names, but it's important because I know that certain decks came out with like the racist goon or something like that, and then they were like, oh well, randomly generating random names doesn't really work so well because then you get weird words like the racist goon. Okay. Anyways, now we have the Battle of the Five Armies. Um, I want to play that one. It's about Lord of the Rings. I really like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars as themes, but sometimes they don't work out that well as board games. Next up, we have Mr. Jack, a two-player deduction game. I'll put that in D tier. I didn't really super enjoy it. All right, The Confrontation, Lord of the Rings. We'll put that in where I put the last one. Did I put that I wouldn't want to play it again? I think I put that I would play it again, given the right circumstance. But yeah, this is a repeat. How embarrassing if I didn't put it in the same spot that I put the last one. Where did I put The Confrontation? Oh well, doesn't matter. Okay. Next up, Smash Up, awesome level 9. Okay, this is messed up. Smash Up, I don't think is best played 2-player. I think it's better at 3 players, and it's really bogs down at 4. But Smash Up, it shouldn't be on this list. I'll put that in the question mark because maybe this set of Smash Up only comes with 2 factions, so they put on the box it's only 2 players. That makes sense. Anyways, Imperial Struggle. That I've never really heard of. France and Britain clash globally. Sounds like another war game. Advanced Squad Leader Starter Kit. Sounds like a war game. Question mark. Wir sind das Volki, a tug-of-war struggle for the future of divided Germany. Yep, sounds like a war game. Question mark for me. Carcassonne the Castle. 2-player tile playing castle building battle. I normally don't like Carcassonne, but I heard that this is the best version of Carcassonne. Okay, next up we have Upfront, a World War II infantry card game based loosely on Squad Leader. So if you played Squad Leader, you definitely want to play this one. But like Squad Leader, I have this one putting in the question mark. All right. Let's see. Now we are at some of the later ones that I don't really know too much about, so we're going to have to scroll right in and see what these are. So, Space Hulk. I don't really know much about it, but I'll put that in a question mark. There's just so many board games, you can't play all of them. The Duke. This is an abstract strategy game, but there is drawing from a bag similar to Hive. So I already probably wouldn't like that. However, I think I liked it better than Hive because your pieces moved kind of, they would move as a tile, and then that tile would flip over and you'd have a different movement set the next time. Next up, we have Undaunted. I think this is a different version of Undaunted. We'll put that next to the other Undaunted in the question mark section. Alright, so a lot of these games I haven't played. I'm just going to start throwing these in the question mark zones. Sorry guys, haven't really played a lot of these. Summoner Wars haven't even played, but I heard it's good. Jambo is actually one that I'd like to try though. Yeah, I haven't played a lot of these. Now, 13 Days. got to talk about 13 Days. I'm going to put that at B tier. There was a time when I rated it as my 13th favorite game. It made it that high. So back when I was rating Five Tribes my fifth favorite game. So, but really, I did enjoy 13 Days. It's like Twilight Struggle, and they tried to make Twilight Struggle in only like a 30-minute game rather than a 4-hour game. Like I said, I played Twilight Struggle right here, this one, and it used to be the #1 board game on Board Game Geek. They're like, let's make a shorter version of it. It wasn't as good for what a lot of people thought, but I liked that it was faster. And I particularly liked that you could really easily end the game in both players losing and you hit nuclear war. Whereas I think Twilight Struggle had a rule for that happening, but it was very unlikely. I think they were really trying to make it true to history, and the authors of the game said it's not likely we would have hit nuclear war. It was just a threat. But 13 Days, it really puts the scare on you, because if you make it so that your opponent cannot win, then they'll just try to make it so that you end up throwing the nuke, or they'll infect your media so that the people don't want peace. There's a lot of different ways you can fight in that game, and it's controlling the hearts and minds of the people. A lot of the actions you do in the game, really great. I really liked 13 Days. One time I had somebody in the trap. I was going to win the next turn, and they said, "Oh shoot, your people are, kind of angry right now. Like, they're supporting the war, but they're angry right now. I'm going to move my piece onto the television and control the television, and now I get to move one of these pawns one more forward, and that triggers nuclear war. And you triggered the nuke, but still, as both players lose." All right, next up, we have another abstract strategy game from the makers of Yinch, but I haven't played it. I'd love to play it though one day. This is Dice Masters. I played Dice Masters once. Didn't really enjoy it that much. We'll put that in D tier. Star Wars. I think this is a Star Wars card game. Never tried it. Would love to try it. I'm going to put a bunch more in the I don't know section, because